Hi, everyone, and welcome back to yet another cracking edition of the Matt Brown Show. This is the Secrets of Fail series where we're talking to entrepreneurs and CEOs all about their epic business blunders, the stuff that nobody wants to put on their LinkedIn timeline. And with us in the hot seat today is none other than Craig Collins. He is the CEO of Granite Warehouse Management Software. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. It's great to be here again with you. Always good to chat to you.
And another South African accent everybody will hear. So well done. Congratulations. So let's start with the elevator pitch, Craig. What exactly are you guys up to over there at Granite WMS?
Well, Matt, we make warehouses work better. So we use a software tool, Granite WMS, to optimize processes, increase accuracy in the warehouse, and just basically make the warehouses work better.
Mm-hmm. And so what size of clients are you typically working with? Like, what's the sweet spot for you?
Yeah, our sweet spot is the mid-market, and the companies that are up to about $100 million and sort of 20 to 100 people. It's not the tiny guys, but it's certainly not the corporates, and we don't ever want to do an Amazon warehouse system.
Yeah, of course, of course. All right, great. So, Craig, let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this series. What is your epic story of fail for our audience around the world today?
We started developing Granite in 2009, and I had a team of about 4 developers, and we were doing custom development, and then we were building the Granite product. But as usual in every business, things were tough at it. We just got out of the 2008, 2009 recession, and companies weren't spending, and cash flow was rough. So being fairly technical, I got an opportunity to do a job with a customer, but it was a custom development, and it was a bit hairy. We knew it was going to be a tough piece of work. But the team were working on Granite, so someone had to go and do it, and we needed the cash. So I got on a plane and I went to go and see a customer in Durban. And it was production systems with integration into Syspro, the stuff that I was really good at doing, but it wasn't what we were focused on with Granite. And taking my focus off the product, off building Granite in order to generate cash was just, for me, a fail. I spent 9 months trying to get that system working, difficult customer, really, really working late hours on site in Durban, and sacrificing working on Granite and on the team in order to generate that cash so I could pay them. And I regard that as a fail.
So what happened from there? Did you fire that client? Like when did you have your epiphany, and walk us through what happened next?
So, we needed the money. So at the end of the day, we kept the client happy and burnt the candle on both ends and made it work. But it was one of those never-ending clients. It was 9 months of hell. And unfortunately for them, but fortunately for us, they were in electronics manufacturing, and they lost a couple of big contracts. And then their biggest contract they were staking the business on was around the new digital stuff that was happening in TV in South Africa, and that just got delayed and delayed and delayed. So at the end of the day, they just scaled back, cut back on everything, and fortunately, the real requirement for what we were doing started to fall away. So I didn't have to spend the time, but we delivered a product.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's of course you did. So, Craig, when you think about that whole experience, taking on a project and, just because you needed that cash income, but actually you were hurting yourself at the same time, which I would say is a failure. What lesson did you learn from that experience? What do you now take forward with you into the business?
So, 2 main lessons. The first one is be focused. Identify the thing that you can do that's going to deliver the most value in your business and focus on that. And everything else has to be secondary. So where is the real value? And we tend to nowadays get distracted by the next bright, shiny thing. And really, especially entrepreneurs, really the thing is, it's about focus. And the longer you can focus on those key things that are going to deliver the most value, that's the primary lesson. And the secondary lesson was, money is a tool, and there's always ways of finding money, getting finance, etc. I probably shouldn't have gone and done a project outside of the sphere of our team to generate the cash. I should have found another way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I suppose just to add to what you're saying, I think what you focus on expands, right? I'm also guilty of the shiny stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It takes discipline to just focus on what your core value is and just stay in your lane.
Yeah. I actually got out of a board meeting just before this, and one of the things that we discussed just offline was exactly that. When we look back at what we've achieved over the last 10 years, it's incredible. But when you're stuck on the hamster wheel of today and you're grinding it out and you're looking at what you're doing, you feel as if you're not getting anywhere. But just step back and look back over 10 years and see what you've achieved in 10 years. And that's when you understand that you actually are successful, even though it feels like you're just not achieving day by day and you're failing day by day. But over time, you're achieving.
Mm-hmm. It's this analogy of how do you move a mountain? So you start by moving small stones, but when you're focusing on the stones the entire time, you don't actually see how much you've actually moved over that 10-year period, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, so every day it just feels like, why am I not getting anywhere? But the reality is you are. You have to stick with it, yeah.
So Craig, if you could get into the Matt Brown Show time machine, and now with the luxury of hindsight, and go back to yourself when you were doing this project and so on, what advice would you give yourself, or what would you do differently, and why?
I think it came down to a confidence in the product we were building. And, the reality is, had I rather focused on the sales of additional sites and backed that product 100%, we probably would have, in the same length of time, in the 9 months that it took to get distracted, probably would have made further inroads into the market, gotten better traction in customer sites with our product, and generated the same revenue. And so, I wish I could get back in that time machine and go and slap myself and just say, focus on what you're doing, because it was the right decision, and back the decision. The confidence should have been there that I can make it happen with this product, go out and sell this product.
Mm-hmm. Craig, what's your advice to other CEOs or entrepreneurs watching us wherever they are, or listening to us somewhere out there in the world, about the importance of failing or failure in becoming successful in business?
I think often we don't look back at those failures and learn from them. So, this show has actually given me the opportunity to think about it and look back, because I'd almost just parked it and said, there's nothing, I don't want to know about it anymore. But the reality is, looking back at it, it has a real lesson, and it reinforces stuff that I'm doing today. So by going back and looking back at it and saying, well, what could I have done differently? Why should I have done something differently? It allows me to take different actions today. And certainly that specific episode has totally impressed on me the importance of focus and backing myself and backing what we're doing at the moment. That's the lesson. So my advice is, go back and analyze those failures, and not to beat yourself up, but to find the thing you could have done differently and find the lesson in it.
Sage advice. I love that point around, because I think people, like, what do they call it? They call it R&R, like rest and recuperation. So I think, like, for us, it should be rest and reflection. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And not at the end of the year. It should be like, and when you go to bed at night, maybe first thing in the morning, what happened yesterday or whatever, so that you can start to internalize these things. And I think oftentimes there's a stigma around failure that, when I don't want to analyze my failures because I don't want to feel like a failure myself. Yeah. But you are not your failures, you understand? And I think that the bridge there is, or to get that perspective shift, is just to be empathetic towards yourself and go, listen, we all fuck up. It's okay, And it's like, so now I think, like, if I haven't had a failure today, I haven't had a good day. I'm looking to fail somewhere, because I know that when I reflect on it the next day, I know that we became a better business, a better team. I became a better leader, or a better whatever, you know. But it's doing that analyzing in a way that's empathetic to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. That point of, rest and reflection is so important. We're often just so busy that we don't give ourselves that time to think and analyze. And it should be part of the growth that we go through every day, is to analyze the stuff that's happened today and say, well, what could I have done differently? What can I learn from this? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I just don't have time for that. So, Craig, what about books and tools and resources that you recommend?
It's interesting you ask that question, and I wasn't prepared for it, but it just so happens that I have my favorite book on my desk here. And I'm actually going to show it.
Yeah.
We can
Multipliers?
Multipliers, yeah. It's by Liz Wiseman. So the reason I've got it on my desk is because I had it on audiobooks, and I was listening to it, and it's really, really incredible. It's like a handbook for leadership. And I told my team, listen, I want you all to read this. I sent them the audiobooks, and I was in the bookstore here in Kelowna the other day, and I saw the hard copy on the shelf. So I grabbed it immediately, and that's why it's on my desk. But quite honestly, it's changed so much in the way that I see my team and work with the team and it speaks back to failure, letting them suffer a little bit, letting them fail, not being the hero who runs in to save the day, has allowed them to grow, and teaching that they need to do that with their team as well. So when someone's stuck on a technical question and comes up on our group chats, I know how to solve the problem, but letting them do it themselves and leaving it actually has got so much value. And it may take a little bit longer. It may appear like, we're not as responsive, but the reality is it's just leveling up the team. And that's something this book taught me. So, absolutely recommended. Multipliers, How the Best Leaders Make Everyone Smarter, by Liz Wiseman.
Beautiful stuff. Well, Craig, that does conclude your time in the hot seat. Appreciate you for coming back onto the show. You've been here a few times, I think, over the years. As always, great to talk to you. You guys have built a great business, and only wishing you and the team all the very best for the future.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Anytime. Everybody else, we'll see you again soon. Ciao.